This is TVB Pearl.
World Review 95 is co-sponsored by the American Express card.
Free rewards. They add up on the American Express card. Every time you use the card, you can earn points toward a whole world of exciting rewards. Exotic vacations, free flights, gourmet dining, lots of good times. There's a fabulous range of rewards for you to choose from. All compliments of American Express. Enroll in membership rewards and start earning points today.
Good evening and welcome to World Review 95. We'll look back tonight on 12 momentous months that moved us closer to a new century. The guns fell silent in Bosnia, Kobe crumbled, and O.J. Simpson walked free. Terrorists targeted the U.S. Midwest and communism returned to favor in Russia. It was also a year in which a deadly disease was rediscovered and a peacemaking prime minister was slain. Joy in Nablus. The West Bank town was handed over to Palestinian control. Tears in Tel Aviv. Stunned Israelis mourned Yitzhak Rabin.
Start now.
A leader's blood stained the path to peace in the Middle East. Less than 6 weeks earlier, Yitzhak Rabin had signed a deal to extend Palestinian self-rule to much of the West Bank.
We should not let the land flowing with milk and honey become a land flowing with blood and tears.
Rabin was killed on November the 4th after attending a huge peace rally in Tel Aviv. He was killed by a fellow Jew. I acted alone, said Yigal Amir, but maybe with God.
I am very sad and very shocked for this awful and terrible crime against one of the brave leaders of Israel and the peacemakers.
There was a huge outpouring of grief in Israel and around the world.
Shalom, Javier. Goodbye, friend.
נגד ממשלת הזדון.
But there were those who felt no sorrow. Extreme Israeli right-wingers denounced Rabin as a traitor who is surrendering what they believe is God-given land.
I am very happy that the dictator Rabin dead.
Muslim fundamentalists also celebrated Rabin's death. In 1995, they carried out a series of suicide bombings in Israel aimed at killing the prospects for peace. But their deadly deeds and that of one Jew only served to harden Israel's desire for peace, to fulfill the legacy of a man whose life had mirrored the nations. Yitzhak Rabin was the first Israeli prime minister born in the Holy Land. He was the general who led the attack in 1967 that seized the occupied territories. Earlier, he had fought against British colonial rule. And it was Yitzhak Rabin who tried to bury old hatreds and make peace with Arab neighbors.
Yitzhak Rabin was an exceptional person and an exceptional leader. We never had anybody like him, and I'm afraid we shall not have anybody to succeed him completely in the future.
As 1995 drew to an end, soldiers were on the move in Europe. NATO is starting its largest ever mission to implement the Bosnian peace accord. The deal was reached after another year of bloodshed and atrocities, which pushed the death toll in the conflict up to 250,000. A peace accord was reached in Dayton after military reversals for Bosnian Serbs. Serb soldiers were celebrating in July. Entering Srebrenica, one of two so-called UN safe havens they overran. Women and children were expelled. Thousands of men were rounded up and allegedly killed. Serbs also thumbed their nose at the UN, seizing 370 peacekeepers hostage in retaliation for an early round of NATO attacks.
You call those troops hostages. We call them enemies, for that is what they are.
But by September, it was the Serbs' turn to be sent packing. They fled Crimea, an enclave retaken by Croatia, much to the happiness of its people. And in Bosnia, Serb forces were also losing ground. What changed all this was a massacre at a Sarajevo marketplace. A mortar attack blamed on Bosnian Serbs.
Unfortunately, at least 35 Sarajevans will be buried and soon forgotten. We can't allow them to be forgotten this time, and I think we all agree with that.
Sustained NATO air raids made a big dent in the Serbs' capacity to fight. And a diplomatic flurry brought 3 presidents to Dayton.
The presidents of Bosnia, Croatia, and Serbia have reached a peace agreement to end the war in Bosnia.
The deal was signed in Paris, ending more than 3.5 years of war. A 60,000-strong multinational NATO force is being dispatched to implement the deal. With the ceasefire holding since October, life is starting to return to normal in a war-ravaged land. As the year began, it was war, not peace, that held the world's attention. Russia's massive assault on Chechen separatists propelled a little-known conflict to the forefront of the international agenda. Russian troops are taken hostage. and former communists stage a comeback. Despite facing the full might of the Russian army, the poorly equipped Chechen rebels held out in the presidential palace in Grozny for 6 weeks. In the circumstances, it was an incredible display of bravado. But the Russians pressed on, despite the mounting death toll and domestic opposition. With Grozny in ruins, the rebels fled, resorting to hit-and-run raids inside Russia. In June, Chechen commandos seized a hospital in the southern town of Budanovsk, taking more than 1,000 hostages. Russian troops stormed the building, the captives waving bed sheets in an appeal to stop the bloody assault. Scores died before a ceasefire was called and the release of the remaining hostages negotiated. Russian and Chechen leaders eventually signed a peace accord, but sporadic fighting continues across the breakaway republic. During the year, Russian President Boris Yeltsin suffered 2 heart attacks, his behavior becoming more erratic as his health deteriorated. He caught a secretary completely unawares at this function. Later, he reduced Bill Clinton to tears after criticizing journalists at a news conference.
Так вот, не первый раз я вам говорю, что вы провалились.
Well, now for the first time I can tell you that you're a disaster.
But December's elections were no laughing matter. The communists did best, getting 22% of the vote. Rising crime and poverty sparked the voters' backlash. And Russia's Far East was reeling in May. A big earthquake hit Sakhalin Island, killing some 2,000 people in the town of Neftogorsk. While a gas pipeline exploded, setting a forest ablaze in northern Russia in April. Poor maintenance was blamed for the environmental disaster.
Free rewards. They add up on the American Express card. Every time you use the card, you can earn points toward a whole world of exciting rewards. Exotic vacations, free flights, gourmet dining, lots of good times. There's a fabulous range of rewards for you to choose from. All compliments of American Express. Enroll in membership rewards and start earning points today.
Elements that shape the world come together to create a wonder in design. Fully scratch-proof, built to withstand the sands of time. Diastar Ceramica from Rado.
The 29HX8 PNP Color TV from Sharp with RGB plus B picture tube and the latest YC separation circuit for sharper images, spatializer surround sound, and 7 speakers. AST Ultra Bass, and various unique picture-in-picture functions. So irresistible. Sharp 29HX8, 29-inch picture-in-picture color TV.
Sharp idea.
Call us to find out about our Sharp Manchester United Super Giveaway.
1948. A world-renowned name created a legend in photography to capture great moments in history. This name has preserved millions of happy memories. And now it's breaking through with tomorrow's technology. Nikon, the real name of the camera.
We have all the time in the world, time enough for life to unfold all the precious things love has in store.
Discover the mystery of the dark. Share the secret of Guinness Special Light.
What lets you learn about the world in a whole new way? The Intel Pentium processor. It has the power to make PC software come alive with the sights and sounds that take you there, wherever there happens to be. The Intel Pentium processor.
They are giants of the sea. They eat tons in a meal. They are whales. Now you can meet these mammals, the biggest that ever lived on Earth, in the World of Whales exhibition at the Hong Kong Science Museum.
Asia's year was marked by political upheaval in South Korea and shock and fear in Japan. Taiwan also grabbed the headlines as it found itself in the middle of a trans-Pacific tug-of-war. China's president outlines a new initiative on reunification with Taiwan. Nine months later, he's watching war games designed to intimidate the island. For the superstitious in China, this year of the pig was one of great foreboding. It contained a double eighth month. The last time that happened was in 1976, the year of Mao Zedong's death. The year of the Great Tangshan earthquake, which leveled a city and left hundreds of thousands dead. When a strong tremor struck Tangshan in August, old fears surfaced, but damage was light. It was, however, a turbulent time, a time of muscle-flexing missile tests designed to scare Taiwan.
President Clinton has decided to permit Lee Teng-hui to make a private visit to the United States in June.
On June 8th, Lee Teng-hui became the first president of Taiwan to set foot on U.S. soil. A visit seen in Beijing as a step towards separatism.
除了会采取一些行动以外，我想，中美两国关系发展的基础破坏了，这是一个，应该说是一个比较严重的事件，它会影响各个方面的这个关系。
And Lee's speech to his alma mater, Cornell University, did little to allay mainland fears.
The people of the Republic of China on Taiwan are determined to play a peaceful and constructive role among the family of nations.
The military maneuvers continued right up to Taiwanese legislative elections in December. Beijing's tactics seemed to pay off. The new party, advocates of peaceful reunification, made strong gains. And tensions are likely to simmer on as Taiwan gears up for its first direct presidential election next year. Lee Teng-hui is the front runner. The arrest of human rights activist Harry Wu in June added to the chill in Sino-U.S. ties. He was given a 15-year sentence for espionage and then expelled.
I'm very proud as an American. If I'm not American, I don't think I can come out.
His release cleared the way for the American First Lady to attend the Beijing Women's Conference.
adopting of the children.
Her message, however, was uncomfortable for her hosts.
Both women and men are entitled to a range of protections and personal freedoms.
Frosty ties foiled Jiang Zemin's hope for a state visit to Washington. He had to make do with an inconclusive meeting with President Clinton in New York.
Today, I'm ordering the imposition of 100% tariffs on over $1 billion of imports of Chinese products into the United States.
In January, a trans-Pacific trade war loomed over China's lax protection for intellectual property rights. A last-minute agreement was hammered out, but the U.S. still says the deal is not being properly enforced. In February, it was Manila which was exchanging barbs with Beijing over structures built on territory it claims in the disputed Spratly Islands. Tempers later cooled, but the conflict remains as China insists it has sovereignty over all the Spratlys. In December, there was international condemnation as dissident Wei Jingsheng was jailed for 14 years. The charge, plotting to overthrow the government. Another democracy advocate, Wang Dan, has been held in custody without charge since June. The harsh line on dissent came as Jiang Zemin sought to polish his image. With patriarch Deng Xiaoping out of sight and his arch-rival Chen Yun dying in April, Jiang was eager to solidify his claim to power. He promoted protégés and sought to boost his influence over the military. The party also pursued a vigorous anti-corruption drive, one that ensnared Politburo member and Beijing party chief Chen Zitong, who was placed under house arrest. There were also red faces in January. The much-hyped launch of the Apstar 2 satellite ended in a fireball. A 6-month investigation blamed wind shear. Elsewhere in Asia, former presidents were in disgrace. South Korea turned with a vengeance on its past leaders. One ex-president interrogated over alleged corruption. Another refuses to cooperate with prosecutors. October, student protesters in South Korea. Their demand was that former President Roh Tae-woo be executed. An often violent struggle to bring the country's former leaders to justice succeeded in 1995. Roh went on trial in December along with 14 former aides and businessmen. He stands accused of corruption, amassing a $650 million slush fund while in office. Roh's also facing prosecution over a 1980 military massacre in Gwangju and a coup the previous year. As is his predecessor, Chun Doo-hwan, who went on a hunger strike after being publicly arrested and taken off to jail. Corruption and misrule were not the only cause of student protests. In August, police intervened as 10,000 students tried to march to the North Korean border. It was the 50th anniversary of the South's liberation from the Japanese. After facing firebombs, riot police finally gained the upper hand. For years, if not decades, it seems corruption had been a way of life in South Korea. And tragically, at times, a cause of death. The collapse of Seoul's Sampong department store in June was the country's worst peacetime disaster. At least 521 people were killed when the 5-story building suddenly collapsed. Shoddy construction covered up through kickbacks to city officials was blamed. The specter of graft was also raised in the wake of Taiwan's deadliest fire. In February, flames gutted a karaoke and restaurant complex in Taichung. 64 people were killed. Building regulations had been ignored by local officials who allegedly had been paid off. Tragedy also struck elsewhere in the region. An estimated 800 people died as Super Typhoon Angela battered the central Philippines in November. The people of Japan may well be happy that 1995 will soon be over. Terror struck twice in just 2 months, once from nature, once from man. A doomsday cult leader was one alleged culprit. For another tragedy, there was no one to blame. It lasted only a few seconds. A few seconds of terror that devastated a city. It was Japan's deadliest earthquake in over 70 years. Kobe was clearly caught off guard. The Japanese government was unprepared. It took 2 days before a full-scale relief and rescue operation was underway. Almost 300,000 people, 1 in 5 Kobe residents, were left homeless. 5,462 people were left dead. In June, the Japanese breathed a sigh of relief. The hijacker of this plane had been caught. He first told police he wanted to speak to Shoko Asahara. The leader of the Aum Supreme Truth Doomsday Cult had just been arrested, along with many of his followers. He faces mass murder charges over a deadly attack. 12 people died and over 5,000 fell ill when the nerve gas sarin was released on the Tokyo subway system.
One drop of sarin on the skin will result in the death of healthy adults.
When it was all over, 4.5 square miles of Hiroshima was burned and blasted to extinction.
1995 was the 50th anniversary of a bombing which ended World War II. Commemorations were muted in Japan, but more lively abroad.
I am announcing the normalization of diplomatic relationships with Vietnam.
President Clinton sought to put a more recent war behind him in July. The U.S. flag was soon flying in Hanoi. In December, the Sri Lankan flag was raised in Jaffna. The Tamil Tiger stronghold fell after a 50-day military push. But the separatist rebels have not surrendered and continue to strike fear into their Sinhalese foes. A cheering crowd greeted Burmese opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi in July. She had just been released by the country's military rulers after 6 years under house arrest.
Thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity to warn everybody not to expect too much too quickly.
Money that's disappeared as fast as it was obtained, through robbery, and a pack of thieves who are no longer as thick as they used to be. Clint Eastwood, Jeff Bridges, George Kennedy, and Jeffrey Lewis passed the buck in Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Tonight, Cinema Bilingual at 9:30.
The 29HX8 PNP Color TV from Sharp with RGB plus B picture tube and the latest YC separation circuit for sharper images, spatializer surround sound, and 7 speakers, AST Ultra Bass, and various unique picture-in-picture functions. So irresistible. Sharp 29HX8 29-inch picture-in-picture color TV.
Sharp idea. Call us to find out about our Sharp Manchester United Super Giveaway.
Free rewards. They add up on the American Express card. Every time you use the card, you can earn points toward a whole world of exciting rewards. Exotic vacations, free flights, gourmet dining, lots of good times. There's a fabulous range of rewards for you to choose from. All compliments of American Express. Enroll in membership rewards and start earning points today.
No one covers the job market like Job Market, and now you can catch us on the net.
Leading craftsmanship, lasting quality, universal furniture. At the Inn Square and Ocean Terminal. It took the very finest ingredients and an unwavering commitment to perfection to create cuisine of noble quality. McDonald's Shogun Burger. The great taste that's fit for a Shogun. Back again only at McDonald's.
The United States was given a startling wake-up call in April. Previously little-known forces posed a new threat to national security. A desperate search for survivors. As a nation wonders about its enemies within. April the 19th. An attack that shocked America. A huge bomb exploded outside a federal government building in Oklahoma City. 168 people died in the deadliest peacetime bombing the U.S. has ever known.
Let there be no room for doubt. We will find the people who did this. When we do, justice will be swift, certain, and severe. These people are killers, and they must be treated like killers.
The first suspicion was that Middle East terrorists were responsible. But the first arrests caused nationwide soul-searching. Former soldiers Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols are Americans, linked to shadowy and well-armed right-wing militias. It's alleged the bombing was meant to avenge the government's siege of a cult compound in Texas 2 years earlier. The shell of the bombed-out building was later demolished, but the horror will stay for years to come. In July, the U.S. sweltered under a record-breaking heat wave. The sizzling sunshine was blamed for over 500 deaths. While freak summer storms brought forest fires, which ravaged regions parched of water. The southern United States and the Caribbean had a very different problem. A series of hurricanes killed dozens and left a trail of destruction. And just 4 days before Christmas, the worst air accident of the year. An American Airlines plane crashed into a mountainside in Colombia, killing 160 people. Miraculously, 4 passengers survived.
They got turbulent, and then we started screaming. That's the only remember. I woke up. The plane was all messed up.
Americans were glued to their television screens on October the 3rd, awaiting the final word from the jury in a case billed as the trial of the century. An ex-football star's fate hung in the balance over a year after a brutal double murder in Los Angeles.
The audience during the course of the reading of these verdicts.
A court verdict underscored deep racial divisions in the United States.
In the matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, we, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson.
A top-line legal team and tainted testimony from a racist cop helped O.J. Simpson to walk free.
Last June 13th, 94. Was the worst nightmare of my life. This is the second.
Simpson went straight back home, leaving his family to read a statement proclaiming his innocence in the murder of his ex-wife and her friend.
I will pursue, as my primary goal in life, the killer or killers who slaughtered Nicole and Mr. Goldman.
After a marathon trial, the jurors needed less than 4 hours to reach their verdict. It's simple, said one. The glove didn't fit.
It doesn't really matter what happens or what anybody says. I know that life will never be the same after today.
Heading for the Million Man March in Washington. An event called by Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan in the wake of the Simpson verdict.
We're gonna put the guns down, brother. New York City.
Local police put the attendance at around 400,000. Whatever the real number, it was the biggest civil rights march in U.S. history. In January, for the first time in 40 years, Republicans took over control of the House and the Senate. Political bickering was heated in a pre-election year.
I'm so
Budgetary battles caused partial government shutdowns. But one man, popular with voters from both parties, would not be drawn onto the campaign trail.
I will not be a candidate for president or for any other elective office in 1996.
Colin Powell and O.J. Simpson were just two of the headline-hogging names of 1995. Others emerged from previous obscurity, while some just can't fail to attract attention year after year.
European Union, my government
A
will
royal
participate
instruction,
in the
get a divorce. While missing money sends a traitor to jail. It was a rare glimpse of a troubled family together, enrolling their eldest son at Eton. After 14 years of an often bitter royal marriage, it appears the end is near. A public confession of adultery by the princess proved the final straw.
I pronounce that they be man and wife together.
Enough is enough, said the Queen. The prince has vowed not to remarry. If he did, he may not be able to ascend to the throne.
The extraordinary thing is that the Queen's letter suggesting that the Prince and Princess of Wales divorce has no constitutional implications at all.
Elsewhere, however, the royal family was more of a laughingstock. In Australia, the Queen was beheaded in effigy. In Canada, she was the victim of a practical joke by a disc jockey pretending to be Prime Minister Chrétien.
Oui, hello?
Oh, Prime Minister.
Good evening, Your Majesty.
Hello.
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Vous allez bien?
Yes, thank you.
We met in Hong Kong, middle of January 1994.
Had a private dinner.
But one royal couple did put a smile on faces in 1995. In November, Prince Joachim of Denmark said "I do" to a lady from Hong Kong, Alexandra Manley. And the newlyweds quickly found a warm place in the hearts of the Danish people. Earlier in 1995, Mike Tyson was released from prison after serving a sentence for rape.
There's been a lot of speculation about my plan, and here they are. I will fight again.
He did, against two previously unknown opponents, and won twice. Susan Smith outraged Americans by locking her two young sons in a car and rolling it into a lake. What sickened so many was that she said a black man had kidnapped them.
I would like to say to whoever has my children that they please bring them home to us where they belong.
She was spared the electric chair and given life imprisonment. In March, Filipinos were enraged after the execution in Singapore of a domestic helper. Flor Contemplacion was hanged for a double murder, causing a diplomatic row. Elsewhere, the godfather of Italian politics was put on trial. Giulio Andreotti is accused of being the politician of mafia godfathers.
So did you have a good time with those hookers last night?
I did.
Does Julie know about them?
British actor Hugh Grant's laughter turned to shame the day after that comment. He was hit with a lewd conduct charge after being caught in a car with a prostitute. While British futures trader Nick Leeson was sent to jail for 6.5 years in Singapore. He caught the world's attention by losing $1 billion and bankrupting Barings Bank.
My lawyers will tell you that I have trouble paying their legal bills, so I haven't got any money stashed anywhere.
Elements that shape the world come together to create a wonder in design. Fully scratch-proof, built to withstand the sands of time. Diastar Ceramica from Rado.
Free rewards. They add up on the American Express card. Every time you use the card, you can earn points toward a whole world of exciting rewards. Exotic vacations, free flights, gourmet dining, lots of good times. There is a fabulous range of rewards for you to choose from. All compliments of American Express. Enroll in membership rewards and start earning points today.
1948. A world-renowned name created a legend in photography to capture great moments in history. This name has preserved millions of happy memories. And now it's breaking through with tomorrow's technology. Nikon, the real name of the camera.
我覺得我脾氣差係最大嘅缺點咯。我人心地都唔差嘅，其實身材唔好唔緊要咯。扮到好靚嘅時候，我想撞返以前男朋友。女人係好矛盾嘅，愛自己都應該愛埋自己缺點咯。我中意做返自己。
Just woman, just gold.
Hong Kong Cebu, the winter sail.
Here is a tropical island, and beneath the surface of the warm surrounding waters lies a magnificent secret. Thousands of beautiful fish living together in an explosion of dazzling color. Giants and dwarfs side by side. A place where life never stops. It's an atoll reef. But it's not in the Indo-Pacific, it's at Ocean Park. The new Atoll Reef. Nature on your doorstep.
Leading craftsmanship, lasting quality, universal furniture. At the Inn Square and Ocean Terminal. Hugo, winter sale is now on.
In May, a global conference called for an end to nuclear testing. Russia, Britain, and the United States all said they'd comply. China responded with an atomic test of its own, and France's decision to end its moratorium on testing caused outrage around the world. In May, a new president took charge in France. And plunged himself straight into controversy. The scenic beauty of Mururoa Atoll doesn't hide deep scars. The result, environmentalists say, of atomic testing. In June, not long after signing the presidential oath, Jacques Chirac made good on one campaign pledge. France, he said, would resume nuclear testing.
And when you have a country that is just being a so-called democracy, being run by people that are just making millions of dollars by making more weapons, it's sickening to say the least.
The French decision sparked protests around the world. The tests were unnecessary, people argued. But the French insisted they were. And promised this would be a limited and final series of atomic blasts. Greenpeace sought to halt the tests by entering the French South Pacific nuclear exclusion zone.
They've just come alongside, they've put the grappling hook on the lower deck. There's one ship now, one commando now boarding.
New Zealand tried to prevent the tests at the International Court of Justice in The Hague.
That's the request for an examination of the situation in accordance with paragraph 60.
But all the protests were in vain.
Millions of people worldwide have protested. More than 150 governments have protested. But President Chirac of France slapped those millions of people into the face and chose to, in a gesture of nuclear arrogance, explode a nuclear device at Mururoa today.
I condemn what the French have done in the strongest possible terms. It's an act of stupidity. It's not something they need to do.
The angriest reaction, however, was in French Polynesia. Pro-independence forces and the anti-nuclear lobby joined together in Tahiti and went on an orgy of destruction. At the United Nations 50th anniversary, attended by 160 presidents, princes, and prime ministers, there was condemnation of France, as well as the other nuclear testing country, China. But despite the international anger, the French conducted 2 more tests, although it said the original series of 8 would be reduced.
It's bitter disappointment that the French are still continuing to test. They seem impervious to world opinion.
President Chirac's leadership was also being tested at home. The bloodiest series of terrorist bombings in a decade killed 7 people and injured about 170 more. Algerian Muslim militants were blamed for the attacks, which sparked a security clampdown. Later, a crippling public sector strike paralyzed France. Transport workers protesting against welfare cuts and tax hikes walked off the job. Angry demonstrations were held nationwide, forcing Prime Minister Alain Juppé to make concessions to union leaders. Only after 3 weeks were partial rail services restored. In Britain in 1995, Prime Minister John Major had to fight to keep his job, while Canada's leader Jean Chrétien was fighting to keep his country intact. October and the future of Quebec hung in the balance. January and massive floods swamped Europe. In Azerbaijan, a railway fire in October claimed 300 lives. October 30th was a day of destiny in Quebec. Canadians from across the country converged on Montreal, making pleas with their Prime Minister for voters to say no to a referendum on independence. But polls pointed to a yes vote. In the end, that didn't happen. But the margin was only 50,000 votes of the 5 million cast.
CBC decision desk calling for
Britain's ruling party was also stung by divisions.
John Major, 218. For John Redwood, 89.
I warmly congratulate John Major on his victory in the leadership election. He won fair and square.
The former Welsh secretary was gracious in defeat. John Major claimed he had got record support for a seriously contested Tory leadership race.
I believe that has put to rest any question
and any speculation about the leadership of the Conservative Party up to and beyond the next general election.
John Major doesn't have to call elections until 1997.
I'm making public today something which the
One man who won't be contesting them is Douglas Hurd. In July, he stepped down as British Foreign Secretary.
Right time for me to...
3 months earlier, Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad's ruling party notched another victory at the polls. Georgian President Edward Shevardnadze survived an assassination attempt in August, but held on to his post in November elections. But that same month, Poland's President Lech Walesa lost his job. He was defeated in elections by a former communist. South Africans were celebrating in June. This proved to be a Rugby Union World Cup winning kick for the Springboks in the final against New Zealand. Elsewhere in Africa, Nigeria's execution of human rights campaigner Ken Saro-Wiwa caused an international outcry, but no biting sanctions. In April, a brutal flashback to Rwanda's bloody civil war. Troops from the Tutsi-dominated army fired at crowds of Hutus in the Kibeho refugee camp. An estimated 2,000 people were killed, many of them women and children. Bodies were found crushed and trampled as people tried to flee the camp in terror. In May, the world looked on in fear as the deadly Ebola virus surfaced in Zaire. There is no cure for the disease, which struck the town of Kikwit. Around 200 people died. In November, thanks to the Hubble telescope, the world saw its first images of a star being born, sites which may yield new clues on the Earth's formation. Those are the pictures we'll leave you with tonight. Good night and have a happy new year.
World Review 95 was co-sponsored by the American Express card. A year